Welcome, Action Catalyst listeners. This is Overtime with Outland, and today we'll be deconstructing episode 448 with Chris Deaver. Number one concept that we pulled away from this interview with Chris was how he always leads with listening and questions. Chris, using his creative approach and methodology, realized from working at Apple, from working at Disney, from working at Dell, and he understood that there's power in questions, and unifying a force for a company's culture means not always bringing statements to the table, but bringing the right questions to the table. And that helps bring people together to collaborate. Working on a question is as valuable as having an answer, and the process of working on it may be even more valuable. As a consultant on my side of the business, I totally agreed with Chris's approach on this because we found that a lot of leaders and business professionals will jump to having the answer first. When you sit around a table and someone develops a problem, everybody on the table wants to jump on having the right answer rather than really considering the problem they're trying to solve, the questions that they ought to ask first before they provide an answer. As consultants and as coaches, part of our training is always to think in terms of questions around the problem before we jump to a solution. I love this part of Chris's approach, and it was a great part of the episode. Number two was Chris approaching this idea of co-creation and collaboration between all levels in a business. Rather than a standard employer-employee paradigm, Chris brought to us this idea that creates more buy-in for everyone in the company when you look at each other within an organization, a team, as co-creators, as collaborators across different levels within the business. By doing this, it created a freedom for people to approach a problem together, to approach creation work together, rather than worrying about being judged on what level they are in within a company and whether their level would hinder their contributions to the business. Instead, by looking at everybody as collaborators and contributors, you were able to create more. And he saw this at companies like Dell when they began taking this approach. Number three, Chris learned an excellent lesson from his father. As a kid, he'd tell his dad he wanted a hovercraft or a spider suit. And rather than dismiss them, his father would actually sit with him and start sketching it out. And in some cases, even actually start building whatever that thing was to show him that you can create whatever you want. You just have to plan out the right steps and get started. Such a tactical way as a parent that his dad approached this idea of collaboration and creation and helping his son create these things and bring them to life. And that taught this amazing lesson of planning out the steps to actually take something from paper and turning it into product. For even more lessons from this episode, check out the full episode 448 with Chris Deaver.